There are three criteria to keep in mind when judging any kind of media, whether it be a video game, movie, TV show, or anything else you encounter. First, whether the movie is good or bad. Second, whether it is fun or boring. And third, whether it is successful or a failure. It's very important in the realm of video games, but also in movies, that a movie can be bad, but still be really fun to watch. I learned this when my friend Jonah invited me over to watch Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. If you haven't seen it, don't worry, it's not a good movie. But with a few friends on a Sunday afternoon where we didn't want to do anything more taxing, it was really fun to watch. It was full of explosions, dinosaurs, quippy one-liners, and asked very little of me going into it. It was a bad movie, but it was a lot of fun, and, depending on who you ask, was successful in being an action movie about dinosaurs. Using this framework, we can look at the Like a Dragon TV show and say that while it very much fails as a video game adaptation, a surprising number of people still liked the show, and many who aren't fans of the video games say that it's really good, compelling TV. I personally didn't think it was great, but it was good enough independent of the IP that I think calling it good is a fair assessment. It was definitely boring, in this case boring being the opposite of fun, in that all the fun elements of the video games were removed from the show completely. And again, calling it a video game adaptation is kind of a joke, all things considered, so it fails in that category. Let's talk about the Yakuza 2007 movie. I watched it this week and I can tell you, it's bad. It's so bad. The acting is mid at best, the camera work is really rough at times, Majima's got the wrong eye patched, and Nishiki is a very weird mix of Nicolas Cage and Tom Hiddleston, the plot is all over the place, and there's no setup and no payoff for any of the major dramatic moments from the games. But it was a ton of fun to watch. The most interesting question is whether it was successful as an adaptation or not. I'll get into that a little bit. If you like the games, it wasn't that hard to track down, so I'd certainly recommend it to fans of the games who disliked the TV show from Amazon. Right off the bat, the best part of the show is just how much fun the actors are having. In pretty much every scene, the cast has so much energy, and they really nail the vibes from the game of a large group of dudes brawling it out. Majima, of course, has the most fun of all, being unhinged and chaotic, but in greater excess than he is in Yakuza Kiwami. Anyone who's played the PS2 original, let me know whether it's true to his character, but he's hunting Kiryu down not to help him regain former strength like in Kiwami, but literally trying to kill him. That aside, the movie as a whole leans into the excessive, over-the-top drama of the games and chooses to have fun with it instead of trying to take itself too seriously. Another great part of the movie is that the character relationships are largely the same as the games. Kiryu and Haruka meet taking care of a dog, Kiryu and Date work together, you can't tell whether Majima actually likes Kiryu or just wants to murder him, and the plot stays nearly 70% true to the game. However, the overall pacing of the movie is pretty rough, as there are two plot lines that contribute literally nothing to the overall story and take up a good chunk of time for, as far as I can tell, actually no reason. Lastly, the entire end sequence of the film comes out of nowhere and misses many of the same points that the TV show missed. It's literally the first time we meet Nishiki, so no actual tension between him and Kiryu beyond Nishiki holding Haruka hostage. There's no good touching reunion between Kiryu, Yumi, and Haruka, and in the very end they have Jingu for about 20 seconds total before he both gets sniped by a random added character, potentially a lead-in for the second game, and blown up by the bomb Yumi set. The only good thing about the ending is that they actually preserve Akiyama's origin story by having the 10 billion yen falling out onto Kamurocho. Otherwise, it's nearly as bad as the TV show in terms of authenticity to the games and their significance. My absolute favorite moment from the movie was during the Nishiki fight. He wrecks Kiryu, leaving him apparently knocked out on the ground. But when they roll him over, he's got a stamina and spark in his mouth and suddenly gets both a full heal and a full heat bar and just goes to town on Nishiki's cronies and Nishiki himself. It's so comedically bad in terms of storytelling, but I'll tell you, chugging stamina and royales and stamina and sparks is the only way I beat Nishiki when I played the game, and having a reference to the absurdity of healing in the games was really fun. Otherwise, Majima's insanity was really fun to watch, and the actor just had a lot of fun with it. All of the scenes where he just starts beating up his family members, or starting fights, or being a hypocrite on a whim were fun to watch, knowing the kind of things that Majima gets up to in the games. I especially like the part where they're in a bathhouse. I'm pretty sure the game's translation would call it a soap land, given the way they reacted to Haruka being there. Haruka and Kiryu sit down in the lobby, and Majima's on the other side of the curtain waiting with guns and men. It was a lot of fun. I recommend watching this movie. I think the Internet Archive has a version if you search it on Google, and it's definitely worth a watch. Again, I hesitate to say that it was a successful adaptation of the games. It certainly feels like a good adaptation after the TV show, but it failed in enough places that I think a mixed success is the best I could call it. However, despite being a very bad movie in cinema terms, it was truly delightfully fun to watch, and going into it with a few friends and low expectations would definitely lead to a good time.